The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 400 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Trek Geeks listeners. Fansets. Our pins have character.
This episode is also sponsored by Science Division, the makers of the galaxy's first interactive tribble that you can control with your very own smartphone. See their limited edition giant silver tribble available for pre-order today at sciencediv.com. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun.
Hi, this is John Billingsley, Dr. Phil Phlox from Star Trek Enterprise. Now, I'm reading something that was written for me, and I think they could have done better. So this is not me, this is them. My prescription for you is a healthy dose of the Trek Geeks podcast starring Dan Davidson and Bill He Could Have Done Better Smith. It truly is the best medicine. Oh, come on, boys. And here's how they close it. Doctor's orders. Shame, tisk, tisk.
For the record, that was Dan Davidson that wrote that.
That was me.
Wow. Well,
that's even better because now it's forever blamed on Bill.
That's forever blamed on Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Bakula.
There you go. Ooh, wow. All right.
From the Potpourri Department at Podfleet Command. It's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant and the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings to you, randomly informed individuals across the galaxy, and welcome to the Trek Geeks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith. So glad to be here for episode 298. I'm sorry. I lost count because I don't count good. But we're excited to be here and glad to be back. And it's a long story, but we're going to tell it today. And of course, by we, I do mean my co-host and I. When I think of random, or if I had to picture a definition for the word random, it would be his face. He's Dan Davidson. He's the most random individual I know, and he joins me now on the Trek Geeks Podcast. Hey, buddy.
Don't you mean Randy? Randy.
No, I mean random.
It's great to see you, man. Thank you for another wonderful introduction. And being the, it smells really nice in here, being from the potpourri, whatever you said at the beginning. I wasn't really paying attention. But I heard that word and I kind of like perked up. So it's good to be here.
I mean it like the Jeopardy category, which is pretty much random things that we talk about. Because for the first time in Trek Geeks history, we might not discuss any Star Trek.
I know, it's a weird thing, isn't it? It's been several weeks since we have had an episode drop, and as we were discussing what we're going to talk about, we decided to talk about what's been going on over the last 4 weeks or so, as to why there hasn't been an episode, and it might not have anything to do with Star Trek. And as you said a few minutes ago, we're at episode 298 right now, and we've never not done that. Or never done that, or something like that.
Well, we put a lot of planning into every episode to decide what we're going to talk about, how we're going to talk about it. And this is the first time we're just sort of sitting behind the microphone and turning it on because we can. You know, we're just going to have a conversation and shoot the breeze. And if some Star Trek works its way in, great. If not, that's great too. We hope you all will suffer through it as best you can.
Well, I'm here, so everyone's going to be suffering.
A lot of suffering.
See, I did it for you. I did it for you.
Garden rake.
Exactly. Backwards.
And
the good thing about the garden rake, when I step on it, it's got the teeth on both ends, so I hit myself in the head with the teeth too. So,
I'm about to be aroused.
Merry Christmas. Aroused.
buddy, here we are. It's been a minute or two
or a lot.
Or 10. And so one of the big challenges in producing a mostly weekly podcast is the fact that life creeps in. Ever since the start of COVID, you and I have been incredibly aware that what we do here isn't our life.
Right.
And that's true of everyone on the network. We don't want them to take their podcast so seriously and make it as big a priority as the stuff in their everyday lives. Their mental health has to come first. Their physical health has to come first. Life has to come first.
Right.
And unfortunately for you and me, the last few weeks, life has had to come first. And it's been a rough couple of weeks for both of us. And we don't say that for sympathy. We say that because it's true, and we like everybody to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything started. We had an episode that came out right before Thanksgiving. Had a great discussion, and we were going to be breaking for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then I was going to be heading off to Disney, and then we were going to get back to wrap the things up for the year for a couple more episodes. But I'll get into one of the things that happened with me, and then we'll move along. The thing I think that hit me the most is, that we go to Disney several times a year, and this was going to be our third trip this year to Disney. So we were looking forward to it. We were staying at the tree houses at Saratoga Springs, which we had never done before. So we were really looking forward to doing that. And whenever we go on a trip to Disney, we take our dogs, Callie and Aria, to my dear friend Jen, has a business, up in, just outside of Manchester, a dog sitting business where you can bring the dogs there, or she can come house sit, but we always bring them up there. She's got a gigantic yard with, a fenced in area. Then they have a blast up there the whole time. So we have always brought them up there. So we dropped them off the day we left for Disney. Everything was great. Now, let me preface this with saying that Aria's 9, Callie's 15. Callie's been showing some signs of age over the past couple of years. She's gone deaf. Her hind legs were a little wobbly, and she was starting to show her age. And we knew it was coming. We knew that she was getting old. So we left, and she was doing great. We had taken her to the vet before our trip because she had a UTI or something. So we got her some medication for that, and she was doing pretty good. So we went to Disney. We dropped her off, went to Disney. We were having a great time, and that was on Friday. So the weekend goes by, and on Tuesday night at 9:00, I get a text from Jen that says Callie's not doing well at all, and she sent me a picture of her, and she could not use her hind legs. Her hind legs were not. She couldn't stand up straight. She was kind of looking. You'll get this. Looked like she was doing a bear crawl. Her legs were like bent the way that the bear crawl is. And she wasn't eating. She hadn't eaten in 20 hours. So we were concerned. So Sue and I made the decision right there Tuesday night to go home Wednesday morning, first flight we could get. So we switched our flights, flew home Wednesday morning, went right to get the dogs. And it was heartbreaking when we got there that Callie was very excited to see us, but she couldn't get up. She couldn't get up to come see us. And I was very concerned. So we knew that we were going to have to make some tough decisions. To make a long story short, we were able to get her into the vet Wednesday afternoon. Her neck and spine were showing signs of pain. Her legs weren't working great. So the vet did give her some pain medication and some anti-nausea medication. So hopefully she would eat, because now it's been 30 hours. She hadn't eaten or drank any water. So we went home. Thursday night was awful to watch. I was up all night with her, just making sure that she was comfortable. And Thursday we made the decision that we were going to have to call and make the appointment to say goodbye to her. So I did that. And then during the day, the medication that they gave her started kicking in, even though it should have kicked in a lot sooner. So Thursday afternoon, she was doing a lot better. So we called the vet and said, look, should we give it one more night, see how she's doing, make the decision tomorrow? And he said, that sounds like a great idea. So later on that night, the medication started wearing off. Another long night. Friday morning, we made the decision. And at noontime on that Friday, we said goodbye to our Callie. And it was, I've lost dogs before. Fury, as everybody knows who listens to this podcast, and anybody who knows me, Fury is my forever dog, who we lost 12 years ago. This was harder. We were not ready for this. We weren't ready to say goodbye to her. It has been an excruciating couple of weeks for us. And part of the reason I think that's the case is because for the last 2 3/4 years, we've been working from home, and it's just Sue and I and the dogs. So everything is the dogs and us here. Now we're home to a house that only has one dog. And Aria is wonderful. We love her to death. She's dealt with this a lot better than we have. But it's been a very difficult couple of weeks losing Callie, after having her for almost 14 years. We got her when she was just about a year old. So that was one of the things that has taken place over the course of the last few weeks that prevented us from being able to sit down and talk. It's been really tough. I think I've cried harder over the last week, and in some ways, and I'm not trying to take this away from anything, man. I think I've cried harder in this than I have with people who have passed away. It's been extremely difficult to get our arms wrapped around this one. And I think it's because everything happened so fast. It happened while we were gone, and we only had a couple of short days left with her that we really felt rushed, and we just weren't ready.
Well, we lost Abby around the same time last year, and it was also very quick. So, I mean, I can completely understand where you're coming from. You know, the mark that these dogs leave on our lives as part of our families is everlasting. And it's the kind of thing that you take with you every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I totally get it. You know, it's hard. It's very hard. And to all of a sudden no longer have that presence there, it's a huge loss.
Everything.
Every night.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every night for months after we lost Abby, we took Abby's leash and her collar, and we went out on her last walk of the night every night.
Mm-hmm.
Simply just because that's what we did, even though she wasn't with us.
Right.
You know, because it was our way to try to feel close to her. So
yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming from, man.
It's funny that the smallest things can just trigger that overflow of emotion. And a perfect example is we would go shopping, we go grocery shopping, and we have those final bags that you can get that you don't have to have the plastic. So we fill, we get those filled up. We come back from the grocery store, and the first thing we do whenever we come back from the grocery store is we get in the kitchen, we put the bags down, and Callie was deaf, but she could still hear it when I really did my deep voice or if I clapped. So she would come trotting in from the bedroom, and she would bury herself in the bags, sniffing at all the food. It was just one of the favorite things about her that we loved. And the Saturday or the Sunday after she was gone, we went shopping. And when we came home, we walked in the door to the garage, and both of us just dropped our bags and started bawling because she wasn't going to do that. It's just those little things, not seeing her where she usually lays down and not having those certain sounds of her nails clacking on the floor. All of those things just have caused such snowballs of emotion over the past couple of weeks. It's good to know that she was loved as much as she was. And we do take peace in the fact that she was telling us that everything was okay. Because I got to tell you, man, when we made the decision, and I called them that Friday to said, yes, we need to come in for real this time. It's not like the day before where we changed our mind. I hung up that phone and I just screamed because it just all came out. And she was standing in the bedroom door looking at us, and she walked over to Sue and nuzzled Sue's leg. And then she walked over to me and nuzzled my leg. And when we were at the vet and we were preparing her, of all the dogs that I've lost in all my life, and I've been very fortunate that all the dogs that I've had have died of old age or things accompanying old age. Like Fury was cancer, but she was 13 for her. And for her, that type of dog, she was old. Callie was as content as could be. She wasn't nervous. She didn't shake. Nothing. She knew, and the looks that she was giving me when I was looking into her eyes were like, it's okay. Everything's fine. It's good. I'm ready. And that helps me too. I mean, some people may say that doesn't really happen. It really does happen. And I take comfort in knowing that she was okay with what we had to do.
I think that I can't speak for cats because I've never owned cats. I'm allergic to them. So that's why I've never had one. But I do know that dogs know.
Mm-hmm.
I think they know when their time is coming to an end.
Yep. And
I mean, dogs want to be with their people. And the thing that brought her the most comfort is that she was with her people. The great bright spot in all this, Dan, is that you have had the last almost 3 years at home every single day with her.
Mm-hmm.
That was true of Abby. I mean, she got to really shine during those last couple of years because she had us 24/7, which was all she ever wanted. And that's all Callie and Aria have ever wanted, was to be around you guys. So you've had that great benefit. Think about it. I mean, if you'd had to go to work and commute every day, for these last 3 years, and then come home and go on vacation and then come back to this, I think it would be a much different feeling.
Oh, I agree.
I think it would probably feel a little more empty.
Yep.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Now, it's funny. One of the things, there are two pictures that I now cherish. And one of them is going to sound like I'm, being, it's all about me. It's not. The best picture I think I have ever taken of me is with her. The smile on my face with her kind of sitting next to me on the deck out back it's my Facebook profile right now. I absolutely love that picture. But another picture that I love and will cherish forever, and you saw it. You didn't see it. I found the picture after you left. I took a picture of Callie when she was laying on my lap on the Thursday afternoon that she was feeling better. Thursday before we said goodbye to her, and her face was on my lap, and I was just holding her head in my lap, and I took a picture of her. That is my favorite picture, maybe ever in my life, and it's everywhere now. I use it in that gift that you got Sue and I, which is beautiful. It's on my phone, it's on my iPad, and it's everything. So we've got so many pictures to remember her by, because God damn, she was in a lot of pictures. And she's in a lot of pictures with different people, which shows that she was loved by a lot of people, and she loved a lot of people. So I do take comfort in knowing that, but it's still, losing a pet is one of the hardest things anybody can ever endure.
It really is. And I mean, it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
You're not, in an empty house every day. You still have Arya, which is good.
Yes,
for both of
she's
you.
fantastic. Yeah.
And good for Arya. But it takes time, and you never truly get over it. Like even when people die, you don't ever really get over the death of a loved one, whether they're human or canine or feline or whatever. You just learn how to deal with it better on a day-to-day basis. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm still not over Fury, and that was back in 2014. So
that blows my mind.
2013. I forget when it was.
2012, I think.
2013, I think it was. Yeah. So that was the start of a bad few weeks. And it's funny. I don't even remember a lot of Disney. We were there for a few days. Some family, some relatives, came by and spent time with us, and then we had to leave. I don't remember much about the trip, other than I went on the Guardian of the Galaxy ride. I got a Thanos glove, and the lines weren't that bad. Other than that, I really don't. Everything else is just a blur because of everything that happened when we got that phone call Tuesday night.
Well, why don't we take a quick break? We're going to do a little business with America, talk about our friends at Fansets, and then I'll catch you up a little bit on what I've been going through recently, my trip to Atlanta and such. Dan, here we are. It's this time of the show where we want to take a moment to thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and also to wish them and their family a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely, man. They're such dear friends, and, well, they are family, so we hope they have a Fansets-tastic holiday. But before the fat man comes down the chimney, and no, I don't mean you, Lou, you can get these amazing new pins. Right, well, maybe I do mean them. Right now, at fansets.com. I got to tell you, it's here, folks. Finally, Bill's wearing it right now. The TNG Com Badge Delta in both pin and magnet form is finally available at fansets.com, and it might be the best one they've ever done. The Discovery Sciences Delta in both pin and magnet form is also available, as well as Kayshawn from Lower Decks, Frozen Badgie, the Star Trek Prodigy show logo, and very excited about this one, the kickoff of the new Universe of Star Trek pin, the one and only Captain Kirk, is now available at fansets.com.
Lots of great new pins to put under the tree, Dan, and that new Universe of Star Trek line looks fantastic. Especially with all that glitter that I know you love.
Yeah.
That you like to wear. Yeah. So look, people, you know the drill. What's stopping you? Get on over to fansets.com today. Put that TNG Com Badge Delta and the new Captain Kirk pin and all those other pins Dan mentioned in your cart, along with accessories, gift cards, but everything. And then at checkout, enter the special discount code TrekGeeks for 10% off your entire order. That's TrekGeeks in all capital letters with no spaces. And of course, don't forget, when you spend more than $30, you're automatically going to get free shipping in the United States.
Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. So, Bill, I've given one of my stories of what's been going on for the last couple of weeks, and I guess it's safe to say that I'm not alone between the two of us, and that things have been a little off-putting the last few weeks. So let's hear what you have to say.
Well, first I have to say, I had a fantastic trip.
Yes.
Over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yes.
First time in 3 years that we've made this trip. We used to go down annually. And obviously that was on hold due to the nature of things pandemic related.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we didn't want to get any of the kids in the family potentially ill.
Right.
If we had come down with COVID and they're not at the time having been a vaccination for them. So out of an abundance of safety and caution, we hadn't gone down until this year, and we had such a great time.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah, it was good to get back into the swing of things. It was good for life to feel a little normal. I think the one thing that really threw me is that we go to this annual Christmas tree lighting on Thanksgiving night in downtown Lawrenceville, Georgia. And it's usually filled with, 1,000 people or so, all waiting for Santa, as it turns dark. And there were about 1,000 people there. It looked like a normal year. And I was like, ooh, at first I was like, damn.
Yeah.
But then it seemed so normal that I didn't even think about it. So
we've noticed that.
So that was a little weird.
Yeah, we've noticed that also over the last couple of weeks. Things like crowd-wise, where we're going to the malls or going shopping or whatever, seems to be right back to the way it was before the pandemic, which is both good and bad in some instances. But yeah, so I'm glad you had a good time down there, man. I know that you've been looking forward to it, and I know that it was hell for you not to be able to go for a couple of years.
It really was kind of a bummer. So the good takeaway from this is that the bivalent COVID booster, the one for Omicron, works pretty well. We can assume that I was either not exposed or the booster prevented me from, getting COVID again a second time. Yeah. So either way, I'm happy with that being the case.
I'm going with plan B on that one because there were probably people down there that expose you, but vaccines work, and I'm glad that you have it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Same here. And the weather was pretty good. Nice. I can't complain. It's certainly warmer and lighter than it was here, where it gets dark at 4:30 at night.
2 p.m.
It sure seems that way, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So then I come home and I had a diverticulitis flare up for the first time, like a full blown flare for the first time in 8 years, which is almost unheard of. Mm-hmm. People who get diverticulitis infrequently usually go maybe a flare up a year, a couple of years. No, it's been 8 years for me.
Yeah.
Partly because I eat more fiber than the average human ever should. Mm-hmm. Consequently, I spend a lot of time in a particular room of the house because of eating so much fiber. But I just got over my course of antibiotics. I got to tell you, the things they put you on when you get diverticulitis are akin to the level of antibiotic that you get put on when you get exposed to anthrax. It's a high grade, antibiotic and one that's a different type. Mm-hmm. One of them makes everything taste metallic.
Oh,
which was just fantastic.
I'm sure that was good.
Drinking water and it tastes like you're drinking metal. You eat, a piece of chicken, it tastes like you're chewing metal.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but that's funny.
Yeah. It's a case where I know this isn't true, but it almost seems like a case where the affliction is worse or not as bad as the cure.
Yeah. Yep. But I do know that when you have had these flare-ups, it's not anything that you enjoy whatsoever.
Well, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if undiagnosed, it can cause a rupture, and then the whole sepsis thing, and that's potentially deadly. Mm-hmm. So, as usual, I listened to my body. It felt weird. And here I am, just trying to become lactose tolerant again because those antibiotics really, really kill all the bacteria.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's one of the things that you're concerned about is, while you're on this stuff, good or bad, bacteria is going to be affected. So I'm glad that you're on the mend. I know that it's been a long road for you in that a couple of weeks. And that's another reason why we've kind of been laying low, I guess is the best way to put it over the last few weeks. In addition to your abdominal issues, I had surgery also to add to the pile of stuff that we're talking about. I had surgery almost 2 weeks ago on my abdomen, and that also played into not being available for stuff. I'm doing very well. I just actually had my follow-up appointment today, and everything's great. So hopefully that is signs of good things to come to both of us for 2023.
When are you going to get your face fixed? That's really what I want to know.
I was talking to my doctor about that, and he said there is no need. It is as perfect can be. So you just keep on keeping on, son, and everybody will be happy. He didn't really say that. No, he didn't say that.
I would say if your doctor said that, it's only because he wants you to pay the bill.
So I guess I'll go talk to a person because nobody likes my face. So thanks.
Nobody does.
Jeez. Oh my goodness.
I'm convinced your wife is either, suffering from Stockholm syndrome or, she's blind.
Might be a little of both. Just gonna say.
So, obviously 2022 was not all bad.
No, absolutely not.
It was a challenging year. At times it was a frustrating year for us both. But I think the great thing about 22 is that we got to get back to the convention circuit and see people that we've not seen in a long, long time, both in Mission Chicago, when they had an official Star Trek convention,
right,
and Las Vegas at Creation's 56-year mission. Those really are, as far as Trek Geeks is concerned, I think the highlights of the year for us.
Absolutely, and that's what I was going to say with all the things that kind of like been piling up at the end of the year to make it kind of like, oh boy, there were some great stretches during the year, and I got to say, Mission Chicago is probably right up there as number one, and STLV as a 1A. I give Mission Chicago, if I'm going to rate them, a little bit higher because it was the first one we've gone to since the whole pandemic thing started, and it was really great to reunite with people affiliated with Trek professionally, like Van Sitters and our friend Dayton Ward. It was great to get to talk to them and see a lot of the people, but it was also so great to get back together with our Star Trek family. We met some of the people of the Trek Geeks podcast network in person for the first time ever in Chicago. And that was really cool. And of course, seeing, Jay and Kaylee from Science Division was awesome. And of course, our friends at Fansets, after so many years of not being able to get together, it was just so great to get back in that normal, day to day at the conventions of stuff. And for the first time we had booths in both conventions, which was just a ton of fun. And I'm looking forward to that continuing in 2023 also. Of course, like you just said, right now there's only one convention, and that's Las Vegas in August. But we'll take it. We'll go. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah, so glad that Reed Pop could get their you-know-what together to actually put on a Seattle show.
Yeah, that was another thing that happened, right? Wasn't it right around the time everything happened with us? That, oh, by the way, Reed Pop canceled the convention in Seattle, and there's no official one anymore.
Well, not this year. Not anymore.
Right. This year. Yeah, I should say this year.
Or I should say 23. So
right.
The convention for Memorial Day weekend is canceled.
Right.
What a shock, because they had announced so many people.
Yeah, like a whole big zero.
Yeah.
I love it when they announce that many.
I know. On the neither convention was without its disappointments. In Chicago, I think it was the frustration of the lack of organization on part of Reed Pop.
Yes.
In Vegas, it was the imperfect situation at the Fan Geeks party at the venue because of the venue. And we did our best.
Yes, we did
in both cases.
And I think everybody knows that we did, and it was circumstances that were kind of out of our control. We are going to be very diligent in making sure that doesn't happen in future Fan Geeks parties, because, oh yes, there will be future Fan Geeks parties. And also I think some of the, I got to give credit to some of the people at Creation. They did their, not Creation, excuse me. To the people who did the 56-year mission tour or Creation, yeah. That there were. I'm sorry, I was getting Repop and Creation confused for a second. They did their best. There were issues with like lines and autographs and timing and stuff like that. But I got to give credit to the people, the volunteers especially, that really worked hard to try to keep things as good as they could. It was out of their control, some of the things. We saw some really jerkwad people giving the volunteers a hard time, and that really is a downer to see in the Star Trek universe, that fans can be that way. They didn't have control over what was going on, and I appreciate what they did. That being said, Creation can do some things to button that up a little bit next year, and I hope that they do.
I think they will. I think the Rio is known territory for them.
Right.
Whereas they kind of had to make their show fit Bally's, they have tailored their show to the Rio for the last decade.
Right.
So, it's I think it will feel a lot more like the convention we're used to next August. And I'm glad it's at the beginning of the month again and not like the weekend before Labor Day.
Absolutely. I think it's great that they moved it up the way that they did. And I think people that have kids that start school way early or way late in August, but way early in what we consider the school year, won't have to worry about that at the beginning of August. Like I know a lot of people had to deal with this past year. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to go back to the Rio, the House Hash a Go-Go, whatever the hell it's called. I probably got that wrong.
Hash House a Go-Go?
Whatever. All I know is that they got good breakfast, and I'm looking forward to going there again. I don't remember your name half the time, so just go with it, Bob, okay?
Forget mine. You don't even know yours half the time. That's really the indicator here. So just a few minutes ago, Dan, you talked about our friends Jay and Kaylee at Science Division.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break right now because we have a special segment with them.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to join us here on Trek Geeks to talk about the future of Science Division. And then we'll be back to talk a little more about life in general right after that. Well, Dan, normally at this time of the show, we would have a spot for Science Division, which we would read, and one of the two of us would write. And if I would write it, it would be hilarious. And if you would write it, it would be kind of marginal. But today we have something very, very different.
We do, because writing is not dangerous, Bill. So I just want to
hate you.
Just want to throw that out there right now. Yes, we normally we would be doing our Science Division spot right now. Some people may have caught wind of this recently on social media that Science Division had an announcement. So not only are we going to talk about that announcement now and get the whole gist of what's going on, we decided, let's have them on. Let's have Jay and Kaylee on to talk about it. They, of course, started Science Division way back. God, it's been several years now. We first got involved in meeting them. I met Jay actually at Ticonderoga, I believe it was.
We did, yeah,
a few years back. I mean, I met him. You were at a table, and then I met him later on at a table. But we did both meet him at the same time. And we've had a great relationship. So I want to welcome Jay and Kaylee to the show, guys. It's great to have you on. It's a little bittersweet, but at the same time, we just love you guys so much, and we want to just get the whole lowdown from you of what's happening with Science Division.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. It's our pleasure.
It's actually really funny because I went to message you folks to let you know about the announcement. And, Bill had gotten rid of his Twitter account, and that had been how I communicated with you, was through Bill's Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to message Trek Geeks, and the last message I had sent to Trek Geeks was to say, hey, Jay's going to be at Ticonderoga. Do you guys want to meet us?
Wow. So, but what you're saying is that nobody bothers messaging the Trek Geeks Twitter account.
I just mean, once we were friends, we just started reaching out to Bill, I guess. Yeah.
Because Bill actually responds.
He is the better of the two. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It has been fun messaging both of you at once, though, because we get these kind of crazy comments and we get to guess who wrote them.
It's kind of a hive mind.
Well, it's our hive brain cell, at least.
Yes,
yeah.
At least one.
So, guys, recently you made an announcement that you were stepping away from your CBS license to sell Tribble. So can you tell us exactly what that means in real world terms?
Sure. Our license was originally a 2-year license. After the merger with Viacom, we were able to extend it to be a 3-year license, which comes to its natural conclusion this December. So December 31st. We have, according to that license, what's called a sell-off period. So we're permitted to continue to sell whatever inventory we have until it runs out or until the end of March. of 2023. So that means tribbles will continue to be available until we sell all of them or we hit that date.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what happens at the end of March 2023? Let's say you've still got tribbles left. At that point, are you no longer allowed to sell them?
That is how the license is written. We I think have the option to sell them to It would be Paramount. It was CBS. We have a couple of different options, and we're reaching out to folks to try to make sure we also wholesale them. So it's possible that we could get them to a wholesale customer, just so that those remaining tribbles would still be out in the world and available to folks. At which point we'd send an email out to our newsletter subscribers saying, "Here's where you get them from." Now there are roughly this many left. That being said, the giant ones are selling like crazy ever since we made the announcement. I think we haven't made the official announcement, but we have less than 50 of them left at this point.
Of the giant ones?
The giant ones,
wow.
Yeah. So the cards don't read that way because, we have a certain number we send as samples to Paramount and a certain number that we keep. So we're in the 230s, I think, for the cards. So we were holding off to make the announcement so people would get those, higher adoption certificate numbers.
Right.
But yeah, we've got less than 50 of them left.
Wow. So in addition to the tribbles, the giant tribbles or the regular size tribbles, you also have a great app that we always talk about every week on the show during the Spot for Science Division. Now, and there's some exciting news in regards to the app itself based on the discussions that we've had. So why don't you tell our listeners about what's going on with that as well?
Yeah, it was written into the license originally that we'd be able to continue to maintain it, but we'd been, trying to reach out to Paramount to make sure that was going to be honored. And so we had just heard back when we made the announcement, we'd heard the day before that, yes, we're going to be permitted to continue to maintain the app and to keep it live for everybody, which was our biggest concern. Once we realized that we were going to be stepping away from this, we wanted to figure out, how are we going to make sure that folks that have one are going to be able to continue to use it?
Right. Because if anything, I want to be able to make my tribble scream at Bill for the rest of eternity.
It was really important. Yeah, it was really, really important that feature stays there so you can use it like that.
Yeah,
we're going to call that the Bill clause. Yeah. So I guess the big question is, and maybe you don't know the answer to this right now, and if that's if that's the case, that's 100% fine. But what happens to Science Division after March?
Yeah, in theory, Science Division just kind of slowly comes to its conclusion. What we don't know right now, we're working with our attorney to figure out, does Science Division stay alive as a business, as the entity maintaining the app, or how exactly that all works? Because there is a financial commitment involved for us in keeping the app alive. It has to be updated. I mean, even just to keep it running exactly the way it is, Android requires that you target the most recent APK. Every 2 years, you've got to update it so that you're running the operating system that Android is on. So there is financial commitment involved in keeping that app up and running. We'll have to pay somebody to continue to make those modifications. And so we have to figure out kind of how that works from just a business perspective and trying to keep the app separate from, Jay and Kalia.
Yeah.
Right.
But basically, Science Division as it is now will not be an entity anymore, unfortunately.
I mean, plus there's things like, Apple App Store developer fees because they charge you an annual fee just to have something in the App Store.
That is all part of that.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to be having to look at, what we have in the business and setting a chunk of that aside to be essentially the fund from which we maintain the app, because we do have to pay Apple. It's like $100 a year to keep the app live in the App Store.
Right.
And then additionally pay someone to do those updates.
And if there are any big changes with the iOS update or something, sometimes that does mean that the app has to be modified. Even if it doesn't seem like there's any new features that are added or anything, there's often things in the background that have to get updated, which all cost a decent chunk of change.
Sure. No, absolutely. So this is sad on one side because the product is great. I remember the first time Jay, you showed me that prototype that you had in New York. It was really phenomenal, and Bill and I were talking about it on the car ride home back to New Hampshire. All about it. It was really neat, and we look forward to getting in touch with you more, and we've developed a fantastic relationship. So it's sad to see that this is happening, but at the same time, you guys were talking to us about the positive part of this decision, and I really think it's important for our listeners to hear that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really bittersweet, the whole process. And we're sad that it's coming to a close, but we were really excited that we were able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that we were met along the way, you guys included, and we have so many friends that we've made, both online and at conventions and through the whole process, that we feel really blessed to be able to have done it.
Well, and those are friendships that exist whether or not Science Division does.
Absolutely.
It's not like because Science Division ends, we're gone. We just bought our regular attendee general admission tickets to
I was just going to ask.
next Vegas convention.
Awesome.
We're going to be
Yeah.
there. And honestly, it was we made the announcement and our inbox and our social media were immediately flooded
Mm-hmm.
with only good messages. All we heard was thank you. And here's the story from the first time we met. And remember me, here's, how we met. And it's all, none of these people need introductions. I know exactly who they are the minute I see the name. They're always like, do you remember who I am? Oh, yes, I know who you are. We're friends, and it has been just incredible and uplifting. And, recently, our friend Lisa posted a picture of us from the 2019 convention.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it going, oh my gosh, there's nothing on the table because we literally just had 3 prototypes and a beta app in that 2019 convention. And, it's come a really, really long way. And we've heard a lot of I'm sorries, like it's something that happened to us. And I think it's important to note that this was a decision that we made, that we looked at the circumstances ahead, that it is getting much harder to run a small business. It is getting much more expensive to manufacture products and test products and get them, imported and get them to customers. It is now much more expensive to get the license. There are much higher guarantees that are due. And, the folks at Paramount were doing their best to work with us, but they have, a corporate structure that they have to work within.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at it and it didn't pan out. We were going to have to raise prices to the point where it wasn't going to be about sharing something great that we had made with people anymore. It was going to have to start to try to become a business venture that was about the numbers and the money and all of that kind of thing. And that just wasn't what this was ever supposed to be. It always was. It was going to originally just be a 2-year thing. We were going to do the tan ones and then they did well. And we looked at it and we went, we can do more. And we did more. And when it was time to look at it again, it didn't pan out to something where it would be fun for everyone and affordable for everyone. And so we've just chosen to end on a high note.
I think that's a great way to look at things too, because you look at this, you see so many businesses around there today that's the bottom line: money. How much money am I going to make? How much am I going to, profit off of this? You guys did this because of your passion. And it shows not only in the product, but it shows in every time we've seen you at conventions and all the discussions that we've had and that we've heard you have with other people. And that's what I think is one of the most important things. This is something that we love so much. And you took it to another level by actually creating a product for all of the people that love Star Trek so much to continue to love with this thing that we can hold and cherish forever. And I think that's one of the highlights of all of the things that we've talked about when it comes to you guys over the past few years.
I think I think it's good to call out there are no villains here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys weren't shut down by CBS and Paramount Plus. Your license wasn't revoked. It wasn't, because there's enmity between the two parties. This is literally you guys just saying, yep, we're at the end of our license. We're not going to renew. And I think that's an important thing for people to realize, is that this isn't evil corporation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was a decision we decided to come to. Culturally, when businesses end, there's an idea that they failed. And I think that's not the case, at least right here and right now with us. It is sad in a lot of ways, but we're really thrilled with what we were able to do, and we decided to end on our terms, and it's not we didn't go under, we didn't fail, we didn't there's a lot of euphemisms on ending a business, right? And they don't really fit. We decided that it's a lot of work and it's more than we really want to be doing right now. And we want to just share the friendships that we've made and, enjoy going to Vegas next year and being able to walk around the vendor's room and go to some panels. Like, whoa.
We get to do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
we've been spending 4 to 6 hours a day combing, unwrapping tribbles, combing them, prepping them to go out. They get Jay combs them, and then they get vacuumed and they get blow dried and they get inspected and they get packed back up and they get shipped. And we are doing all of that and working full-time jobs for both of us.
Yeah.
And, it's been a lot, and it's our privilege, and we love doing it. And we also are looking forward to having some time to get to know who we are as people without tribbles again.
Well, if you guys, decide that you miss working a booth in Vegas, you are welcome to work hours. Because we will let you in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Dan won't be there anyway because he always walks off for hours.
The fans need to see me. So
yeah, okay, whatever. But anytime you guys feel the inkling, you really miss being behind a table, just come see us.
We'll have to bring the Galt Tribble cosplay. So Dan and the Galt Tribble.
That's a fantastic idea. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I gotta say, guys, one of my great memories of you guys was we finally got to hang out in Chicago this past year, and that was so much fun. And selfishly, one of the best moments to happen because of you guys is there's now the one and only one animated GIF of my face now available on the internet because of you, Kalia. So it's always out there, and I use that as much as I can because it's just
one of the best things that happened to me was when I got to send it as a response to a text that you sent me.
How do I not have this?
I think I'll have to send it to you, Bill. I'm sure I've used it with you. I'm just basically looking at the camera like this. I do one of those. No, of course, nobody could see it, but and I did it. I didn't even realize I was doing it as a GIF when I took it on my phone, but it was so perfect that's my favorite memory of you guys.
I think you tweeted it at us, and then I wanted to save it, and Twitter wouldn't let me save the GIF. So then you texted it to me, and then I just held on to it, waiting for the perfect moment to use it.
Oh my God, that's great.
To be when we were in Vegas, and you texted me something, and I sent it back to you.
There you go. Guys, like we said, it's bittersweet. But I will say, and I'm sure Bill will echo my thoughts. Being able to have you guys sponsor every week's episode for us has been nothing short of an honor. We love you guys. We love the product that you have put out. We love the passion in the product that you put out. And you are always welcome at not only the Trek Geeks table, but at Trek Geeks anywhere. We just love you guys to death.
Thank you.
No, we really appreciate that. You're family at this point.
Yeah.
Which means Dan's the weird cousin we don't talk about.
I'm going to text that face to you now.
As I think about 2022, I think about how it was, despite all the challenges, despite, all the I don't want to say the burnout, although I will admit I've been burnt out a good chunk of the year, between the work situation and everything else. I think that it was a fantastic year for the Trek Geeks network as a whole. I think that the amazing, beautiful people who are with us on this network put out so much great content that I'm proud and I adore each and every single one of them for being a part of what we do here. Yes, I get it. They're our network. We have to say we love. No, I don't have to say I love them.
That's right.
But they have all created their own show, which is their own thing, and it's identifiably unique to what we do. And it's exciting. It's entertaining. It's great content. And to know that, or, to finally have the chance to meet some of these people this year and to actually know that, they're pretty damn good people too.
Yeah.
Really kind of makes it kind of the biggest win of the year for me personally. It's one thing to get to know people over Zoom. It's one thing to have conversations. It's another thing to get together and laugh till you think you're going to cry and to go play virtual reality games together.
Yes. Which was quite an experience. Yeah.
It was.
I absolutely echo those sentiments, Bill. I am so proud and honored to be associated with all the people that we have brought into our Trek Geeks family. Like you said, every show is specifically tailored to an area of the fandom that is just awesome, and they have their own unique footprint for every show. And I think that's really important. We don't need cookie cutter shows left and right, and we don't want them on the network. We want shows that have people talking about their passions, and every one of the shows that we have had on and brought on in the past year is the very definition of that. And it is humbling to have so many fantastic people associated with the network. And you're right. We don't have to say these things. We know people on other networks who the runners of the networks are complete jerks and say bad things about them. We could do that if we wanted to, but we don't, because we don't think that way. We truly love every one of these people. And it makes our job so much easier as the people that run the network, to have great people associated with it. So I agree with what you said. That's one of the most positive, if not the most positive thing out of 2022 is the family that we have built here on Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Yeah,
I'm getting all choked up. Yeah, exactly.
All I heard was choke, and then I got excited for a minute. It's, all the other stuff is great. I mean, it's great to reconnect with our dear, dear friends. Jay and Kaylee, like we talked about earlier, who we just heard from, the Fansets folks, Lou and John and Amity and Joey and everybody that is a part of that unique, beautiful group of people. Mm-hmm. But to know that, we got to get together with our folks, with the people who were doing this thing, as a part of Trek Geeks, just made me happier than you could possibly imagine. It really was the highlight of the year for me. And
there was one point in Chicago where everybody that was there, that was part of the network, we got to get together at our booth, and it really was awesome. It was amazing to have all of us together. I don't even remember if we even got a picture of it. We have to have a picture of it somewhere.
We did. We got a picture of most of them.
That was pretty cool to have that happen, and I look forward to the time that we can do that again. I know that we did get together to be able to do some things in Vegas, but I hope that in Vegas this coming summer, that we get to have more time with them to do things, because it felt like we were just running around so much, and spending time with these people is very important to us. So I hope that happens.
I think it will. I think that those opportunities will present themselves. I saw them a whole lot at the booth, which you weren't at. So.
Well, like I said, where's Davidson? Oh, he's there with all the people that wanted to talk to him and meet him and shake his hand. So I had to do what I had to do. Which was three people, and it was in the bathroom.
They want to take a picture with that dude in the purple paint.
Oh, I got to say, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I will be at the booth next year, a lot more. I promise you that. And it's here for everyone to hear, and it'll be out in the ether forever. So yes, so now I can't take it.
You can cosplay for one day.
I am going to cosplay for one day. Yes, might be 6 costumes, but no, it won't.
7. You got to maximize.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you have any hopes for 2023?
In all honesty, over the past few weeks with everything that's been going on, I have not really even had the opportunity to think about that. Yeah. I am sure that if I sat down and thought of it, I would be able to think. There are always our hopes, in terms of selfishly for us. I just wanted to keep going the way it's been going, man. It's been 7 years that we're doing this. We're starting year 8 in a couple weeks, and it's just been so much fun. We get to talk about so many different things. We get to talk to so many different people, and every time that we do, I have to pinch myself, because it's something that I never imagined 8 years ago that I would be doing, and been doing for now 8 years. And it really is a blessing. I mean, we give each other a hard time all the time, but it really is just so much fun to sit here and talk with you every week about what's going on in Star Trek and different episodes and all that. And I just want that to keep going. We said we're going to do this until it's no fun. And I don't see that, not being fun for quite a long time, no matter how much crap you give me.
There were times this year where it wasn't fun.
And we kind of backed off a little bit to just re-energize.
And that's large. It wasn't because of Trek Geeks. It wasn't because of podcasting. It wasn't because of fandom.
Yep.
It was because of what was going on in our professional lives.
Right.
And the I mean, producing podcasts is work, as we've said before, even in this episode. And it takes work to put out an episode, whether you do it for love or whether you do it for money. And it was becoming harder and harder and harder to do. So we cut back on the frequency of Trek Geeks this year. There were fewer episodes, but everybody stuck with us. And that's one of the things that I appreciate the most.
Right.
I think that in 2023, the thing I hope for the most is, and this is going to sound kind of Miss America-ish or Pollyanna-ish, but I wish for peace. And I mean that very specifically. You know, the last few years have been hard for a lot of people, and people on our network. I mean, we've had people who've had to take just a break.
Yeah.
You know, because life is life, and you know, and dealing with some of this stuff is hard. It's advanced adulting, and sometimes you don't have the free time you wish you would have to share this passion for Star Trek.
Right.
Because other things have to take precedence. You and I have always just, you know, chanted the mantra, real life comes first.
Always.
Health comes first, whether it's mental or physical. That always, always, always comes first. And everyone on the network has listened to that message and taken it seriously, which is what I'm grateful for. You and I have listened to that message and taken it seriously. Right. So yes, it has always been fun doing this. It's funny because when I initially approached you with this idea, one of the first things you said to me was, "What are we going to talk about?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Dude, there are over 700 episodes of Star Trek. There are 700 episodes right there." And you said, "Oh yeah." I said, "But there will be so much more to talk about than that, and you won't believe
has
it."
been, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it really is amazing. And I mean, we're on 700 episodes, 800 now, over 800. And we're only coming up to episode 300. So we got a ways to go.
Wow. It's taken, I know other podcasts have hit 300 a lot faster, and that's fine. I'm not in a race. I'm here to just enjoy ourselves. If we crank out 40 episodes a year, I'm a happy guy.
Right.
If we don't, I'm a happy guy. Ultimately, I'd love to be able to do it all the time. You know, but life happens, vacations happen, you know, family things happen. So it's been the hardest of years, but you know, I know that there'll be challenges in 23. I mean, I don't delude myself, you know, I know this surely as I know my name, but we'll still do this. We'll still have fun, and life will always be there.
That's right. And when things come up in life, we'll do what we did over the course of this year, and it'll be all right. And we know that we have the support of all of our listeners and all of our patrons, because every time we've posted something like, "There's not going to be an episode because of this or because of that," we always get the "take care of yourself," "good decision," all those kind of comments. And they really mean a lot to us when we see those. So thank you everybody for posting stuff like that. And it's funny, Bill, as I sit here, as we're getting close to Christmas, it's only a few days away now. I'm very thankful for everything going on. It's been a tough couple of weeks. Sue and I were actually wondering if we weren't going to put up our tree, and I may have actually talked about this with Callie. It just goes out of my head so quick. And we weren't going to do it. And then we decided we wanted to do it because Callie was the type of dog that would lay under the tree all the time and just kind of hang out under the tree. So we did it. I'm really glad, and it makes me realize the important things. Even when life is crazy and life is going nuts and we feel so negative and wonder if we're ever going to be able to climb out of it. It always does. We always got the people around us that we care about the most, and the dogs. And I'm very thankful to be able to wish you a Merry Christmas and wish everyone listening a Merry Christmas, and looking forward to what 2023 brings, because no matter the things that are thrown as curveballs, we're all going to come out of it good, and it's going to be a fantastic year. And we haven't talked about it a lot. I think Star Trek in 2023 is going to be absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see the things that are going to be happening in the next year.
You know, I got to say, it was nice to have 48 straight weeks of Star Trek, 52 episodes. I'm not going to lie, that was pretty cool to have Star Trek almost every week for a full year. The downside is that we had Star Trek every week for almost a full year, and there was no hiatus.
Right.
You know, even when Deep Space Nine was in production with either TNG or Voyager at the same time, there was that break over the summer where you got the downshift to go, whoo.
Yeah. Nope.
All right, let's watch some reruns, or, you know, let's go to the beach or whatever.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And weren't there a couple of weeks during the year where there were 3 new episodes in the same week? from a different series, or was it only two? It was two the max.
I think it was
remember,
two.
That's a lower couple. That was a lot. It's like, oh my goodness gracious.
It's just it's brutal, and that's kind of what led to us sort of announcing with Discovering Trek that with that show we're not gonna cover these new Star Trek shows as they happen anymore. If somebody on the network wants to, like if they feel really passionate about, say, I don't know, I'll pick one, Strange New Worlds, and they want to do it week to week, fine. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to be our expectation that happens, because this Star Trek is always going to be there. You and I talk about episodes that are 57 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
Like they just happened, because there are still things to mine from them. And you know what? That's true of today's Star Trek as well. Mm-hmm. When it was one show, doing Discovering Trek was easy. Now that it's 5 shows.
Yes.
It's a second job.
And when Discovering Trek first came out, it was the only show. And we didn't know that a few years later, there were going to be 5 shows running at the same time. That is a lot. That is a full-time job. It's a full-time job for more than one person. And so I think the decision that we made was the correct one. We'll review them when we review them. Because like you said, they're going to be there always. Just like, we can talk about Space Seed tomorrow. That's 56 years old, and we'll be able to talk about it like we just saw it. So yeah, I think it's the right decision, and another right decision for our health and sanity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Star Trek is evergreen. Regardless of when it's produced, regardless of the message, it always ties back to something present day. We can take a look at TOS or TNG and apply it to things that are going on right now in the world, and it's still just as relevant as it was when it first aired.
Right.
That will be true of Discovery. That will be true of Picard and Strange New Worlds and even Lower Decks and Prodigy and whatever else comes after that. And we're not in competition with anybody.
That's right.
Not because we think we're better than anybody else or anything, but I don't feel that we're competing with other podcasts or podcast networks that cover Star Trek. No, they can do what they want to do. And that's great.
Yep.
I'll cheer them on, every single one of them. But for us, it's not the right decision anymore. And I think it made sense to make that change.
Yep. Totally agree, which is good. I like it. Nice job.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Now get to work.
Tribbles are not dangerous.
Oh my gosh, you drew a Tribbles are not dangerous before the end of the year. Fantastic.
That's your Christmas present this year.
Thank you. That I'll cherish that over everything else you've ever done for me.
I gave you an empire.
Yeah. And now you can ride. Now you can ride my coattails.
I have been. Every time we go to Vegas when you're not at the booth. A few people have been asking whether or not we're going to some of these other smaller conventions that are occurring. There's Trek Long Island, which is occurring in May. It's a brand new convention. There's a new one that's popped up in Philadelphia. There are some others, and I think I speak for you when I say probably not.
No, I can't see us being able to do that. 1, because life. 2, because wives. It's great to go to the convention. Doing 2 conventions last year, I'm not going to lie, was tight. I mean, that was, it's Sue and I are not used to not being together. We're always together. So when we're apart for any stretch of time, it's tough on both of us. Vegas is kind of cemented in. That's always going to happen. I would love to get up to Ticonderoga again in the next year if possible. So maybe Trekconderoga is something that we could squeeze in there. But a lot of the other ones, just because of distance and time and stuff like that, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and I don't either. I mean, my plan is to relocate next year out of New Hampshire. So if I come up for Trekconderoga, it'll have to be I come up specifically for that.
Yeah.
I think that it was good to do 2 conventions. I'm glad we did it this year. I'm in no rush to do it again, though. Yeah. But I mean, I did get to go to an office convention with my wife in between.
True,
so I think that they kind of offset one of them.
That's true. And I'll tell you what, I've been looking for them. If they ever do a Grimm convention, I would definitely do one of those with Sue, and we'd have a blast. And like you said, that would offset something. So yeah, absolutely.
So as much as we would love to do some of these other shows, and go and just meet people and say hi to friends and whatever, I I have a hard time seeing it and justifying it.
Yeah, I mean, heck, we didn't even get to go to Granite State Convention this year. That's right in New Hampshire. I mean, it's just
10 minutes from our house.
Yeah, and we weren't able to do it. So it's just yeah. This year was kind of like the strange year. So just a lot of things going on which prevented us from being able to do that. But yeah, I'll look forward to Vegas and I'll be content with just that one.
Which of the shows currently in production are you most excited to see in 2023? If you had to pick one.
I got to say Picard season 3.
Yeah.
I have really enjoyed, I know that Picard season 1 did not get a whole lot of love. I enjoyed it. It did have its slow parts. I loved season 2. I love the whole Confederacy thing and of course the skulls and the whole storyline with Q. I really thought that was a great way to wrap up that character. But what we've heard and what we've seen with Picard season 3, which is basically just going to be TNG season 8, I just cannot wait to see what they're going to do. We've seen some surprises in the trailers. It's going to be so great to have that crew back together for one more adventure. And I think it'll be a tremendous send-off that they did not get with Nemesis. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that answer. For me, I have to go with Strange New Worlds season 2.
Yeah.
Which I mean, again, it's not that I dislike any of the others. That's certainly not the case. I think Picard season 3 is going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it, but I think that the more, because I'm already rewatching Strange New Worlds. I mean, the more I think about it, I think for me it's my Trek right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not to knock anything else, but it's just it's there. It's tight. It's Star Trek, and it's pretty great. So I think I'm most excited for that to kick back off.
Yeah.
And I wish it were more than 10 episodes. That's really the thing.
See, that's the thing. I was thinking that the other day too. It's like, wow, all of these shows that we watch now, whether it's Trek or not, are only 10 episodes. That's pretty much all they do now everywhere. But I got to say, I've probably watched the season finale of Strange New Worlds at least a dozen times of season 1.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And I actually saw a video today from Anson Mount. He did a little video on Twitter or Instagram or somewhere where he's laying on his couch. He just had foot surgery. So he was laying on his couch and he was watching Sports Center, and he was really good with it and wished everybody a happy holidays. So happy holidays to Anson. Hope your foot feels real better soon, pal, because you got to be up there kicking butt on the Enterprise Bridge.
At least he got through season 2.
Yes, exactly.
Now I'm going to be wondering, is his foot hurting in this scene?
I know, right? If he limps at all, we'll be like, oh my gosh, Spock limped at the beginning of the first episode of TOS. Maybe he hurt his foot too.
Did he really?
I don't know. You noticed in Menagerie, he's limping when he's on the planet's surface. And I don't know if that was automatically put in to make it look like he was injured on Rigel, or if Leonard Nimoy had an injury and he was limping. But watch it. You'll see it when they're running. He's got a definite limp going.
Here's why I say Star Trek is evergreen, because in, I guess they showed the cage for the first time in the 80s.
Yeah. So,
for 30 plus years that we've been able to watch it, I've never noticed that.
That's amazing. And he's, of course, we all know that he smiles like ridiculously in that episode.
Right.
But yeah, check out, I see now when we're done recording, you have an assignment. I want you to go and throw in either the cage or Menagerie and watch him, and you'll see him limping. Yep. There you go. Merry Christmas. Okay. That's what you get for Christmas. You get to see something Christmas that you've never seen before in Star Trek.
When we were talking about the things in 2022 that made us most happy, I left one off the list. And that is Trek Talks 1.
Oh, yes. Goodness gracious. Yes.
Because it's the first time anything like a live streaming telethon with 60 Star Trek alumni had ever been tried to benefit an organization. People have done smaller live streams for charity like we did with Jonathan Frakes in the first year of the pandemic in 2020. But no one has done anything to that scale. And I am gratified beyond belief that so many Star Trek folks showed up to help us out.
Right. 100% of them.
100% of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, they didn't have to show up. Maybe some of them showed up for Billingsley, and that's fine. But ultimately, they said yes. And it was probably, when this is over, Trek Geeks, because someday it will be. It's not anytime soon if I have anything to say about it. But when we look back, right now, that would be the thing that I am most proud of.
Yeah. So far,
Well, but I'm saying, it's going to be hard to top.
Yeah, it is.
No matter how many times we do Trek Talks, but the very first one,
to have it as successful,
it was magical.
Yeah, it really was. We were sitting there. Yeah, we were sitting there in the green room, so to speak, because it was all Zoom though, and we were just kind of like, "Wow, this is just unbelievable that everyone's showing up." Because JB said honestly, things happen, stuff goes on in Hollywood, or whatever. So don't be surprised if we get a good chunk of people all of a sudden at the last minute can't make it. Every single one of them made it, and it was really, really something. And the amount of money that we raised was just so great. And you're right, it's going to be hard to top. We're going to try to top it money wise, but being able to have that feeling after that first one, that's going to be hard to top, man.
Yeah, I say financially, I'm sure we'll top it someday. We raised and when all was said and done, we raised over $80,000 for the Hollywood Food Coalition, which still blows my mind. I mean, it's success. We didn't know if we were going to raise 10.
Right.
We raised 80 over the course of 5-6 hours. We may beat the dollars some years. We may not. We may have more guests. We may not. But nothing will ever beat that feeling of we put this together and we were able to do it and affect the change in the lives of actual people.
Right.
We know that this will immediately help people who need it. And that was a pretty amazing thing. And that's something I will always, something of which I will always be most proud.
Isn't it amazing to think that the very definition of what Star Trek is all about, we were able to do? I mean, it's where the birth of Trektivism came from, pretty much. And it is amazing to see that when something as important as what we did, the cause that we were doing it for, the people came out and showed that they're good people and show that the ideas of Star Trek and what the future holds in that universe, people hold it in their hearts and they're serious about it. And it showed that day. And I will always be grateful to have been a part of it.
People can say what they want to about you and I. There are people who love us. There are people who can't stand us. There are people who have left negative reviews of the show and, have said all kinds of really just weird things. Our show is not for everybody, and we understand that because it's our friendship, that really is what the show is about. It just so happens to be a Star Trek podcast.
Exactly.
But, I don't see everyone else going out there and raising $80,000. People can say what they want to about our podcast. They can say what they want to about us. I'll always have the feather in my cap that we affected some real help for people, and nothing. I could be prouder of nothing more.
I can't say anything in addition to that, man, because it's exactly spot on. So yeah, amen.
Well, Dan, that's kind of where we're at as we come to the end of the year. It's been the most challenging year of my professional career.
Agreed.
It's been one of the most challenging years of my personal life.
Agreed.
And I'm glad to see 2022 get behind us so we can get on to better things in 23. There were good parts of 22, but it's time to make 23 even better.
Lots of challenges, lots of loss, lots of really working hard and asking lots of questions like, oh my God, how could we ever going to get through this? But we did, you did, I did, everybody else did. And you know what? Through all of it, we still had Star Trek. And that's always a good thing. And we're still going to have Star Trek no matter what. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2023, not only with what happens with our lives and our careers and all the great things that'll happen, but also what's coming down the pike from this fantastic universe. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Me too. Dan, you know what else I'm looking forward to?
My face?
No, I don't think I'm ever looking forward to that. I hear that when Trek Talks 2 happens this coming Saturday, January 14th, live streaming to our Facebook, our Twitter, and our YouTube channel, 5-Year Mission is going to have some special tracks that they're going to play for us during the telethon.
I know. It's going to be awesome.
5-Year Mission, helping us out, supporting the Hollywood Food Coalition, us and Roddenberry Podcasts, and of course, John Billingsley, and everybody on the team. It's going to be a fantastic day. We hope everyone will be able to join us. But, you want to get ahead of the game. 5-Year Mission is going to play some live songs for us. Get on out to 5yearmission.net. Get all their CDs. Become huge fans in advance because we are. And that way, when the telethon comes around, you'll be right there and ready to go. 5yearmission.net.
just the idea that they're going to be performing songs specifically for this telethon is amazing. Now, I don't know, maybe they'll write you into a song where you get phasered because you're a red shirt. That would be fantastic. Just throwing it out there, 5-year mission. But it'll be great. That would be a great Christmas present. Anything with 5-year mission is a great Christmas present, whether, it's year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, Spock's brain, troubles, whatever. So
All of it.
Put it all under your tree and Merry Farking Christmas.
Wow.
Mic drop.
Sometimes simplicity is the best thing.
Written.
No. Shakespeare once said, brevity is the soul of wit. I think he meant that with everybody but you.
I am tired. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm tired. Jesus. 5yearmission.net. Go get all their albums. And like Dan said, Merry Farking Christmas. Of course, don't forget, you too can support the Trek Geeks Podcast Network by subscribing to us on Patreon. We have to take a special moment here just to thank all of our Patreons for the last year and, of course, the years previous. But this year, their support has meant more than ever. It's we get that, this is something that they do because they support the network. And obviously, with inflation and tough times, it would be very easy for every single one of them to say, you know what, I got to take a step back. But the amount of support we've received through the pandemic and continue to receive, Dan, has just blown us away.
It continues to blow me away every single time we go through this list of names that we're going to do in a minute. And not only the names that we read off, but everybody who supports us. I feel so blessed to have people that show their support by doing what they do with Patreon. And we love every single one of them. Like we've talked about, we're just two guys sitting behind a microphone talking about something we love, and we have this group of people that support us the way they do, and it's something that I will never be able to adequately thank in the way that they should be thanked for it. And I am just so proud to be able to do this for them, and it really makes me very happy. So speaking of those names.
Yeah,
my friend. So let's talk about them. We're going to take a moment here to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks. As I just, blubberingly said, we are so grateful for their support. And they are Vikram Bhatt, Chad Clark, Brad DeMag, William Edward M. Jr., Patrick Escudero, Brandon Everidge, Andy Fark, Kimberly Francis, Jonathan Hamilton, Peter Hong, William Jackson, Ryan Jeffs, John Krikorian, Sean Lynn, Rick Mason, Jamie McGregor, Ross McKinney, Jim McMahon, Aaron Mollenkoff, Helen Reed, Sarah Rutlinger, Tim Robertson, Desi Rogers, Greg Rozier, Eric Sakian, Adam Sanders, Tim Serdar, Heather Sohn, Blake Strike, Rick Tatro, Lisa Tomlinson, Ron Robel, and the gracious and wonderful Connie Hutchins.
So gracious, so wonderful. Happy holidays, one and all. And of course, a special thank you and happy holidays to the producers of the Trek Geeks podcast, Mike Bovia, Steve Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Andy Davenport, Craig Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, number one fan. She says it. It's true. David Hood, Lionel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Darren Metcalf, Charlie Mulvey, Sean O'Halloran, Casey Pettit, Jamie Rogers, Major Self, Casey Shafsky, Terry Shaw, Jim Stoffel, Chris Tribuzio, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, Dan. She told me she's going to be on time in 2023.
Yeah, okay.
And the lovely and talented Jess Vashon. Dan, the senior producer of Trek Geeks, now and forever, is the genuinely kind and gracious Jude Tatman.
I think that we should get like a plaque like they have at the Turbo Lift of the Enterprise of the senior producer of Trek Geeks is Jude Tatman. I think we should do that. I'm going to do it.
Would you look into that?
I'm going to look into that. You too can become a producer of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. It's so easy to do. Head on over to patreon.com/TrekGeeks for all the details.
Dan, normally we take the last couple of weeks of the year off and probably the first couple of weeks of the new year. So it's going to be a little bit before there's a new episode, probably right after Trek Talks in mid-January. But for the next couple of weeks, we will have pre-recorded episodes, our annual outtake specials for the next couple of weeks. We'll probably stagger a week in between those so that they'll be every other week. But we are planning on doing that this year, and I guess that means I have to actually edit them now.
Just throw them all out there. Everybody knows what they sound like anyway. It's just me sounding like an idiot.
You can be sure that we'll be back to celebrate the 8th anniversary of the Trek Geeks podcast in January. And of course, our 300th episode is coming up
300
very soon.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, for more great Star Trek discussion, please do check out the other member podcasts we have here on the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. We are so proud of all of the people who devote their passion and their talents to create podcasts here at Trek Geeks. It's nothing but passionate fans, and that's really what Trek Geeks is about. You can find all our podcasts, including where to listen, by going to trekgeeks.com/listen.
The Trek Geeks Podcast Network. No one talks Trek like we do.
No one. And of course, for all the news on all the Star Trek show, please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been episode number 298 of the Trek Geeks Podcast and the last episode of the year 2022. We do hope you all live long, prosper, and have a happy holiday.
Merry Coconut, Miss. What?
Wow, you found a way to ruin that too.
I did.
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
I feel like I don't know how to do this anymore, but I think normally at this spot I say Bing, not Crosby, not Cherry, Bong?
I'm sorry, sir. Who are you? What's your name again? You
Alec
look
Peters.
familiar.
Glad to meet you.
Bong, you said Bong, so that automatically I perked up. I'm kidding. How you doing, buddy? Oh my God, it's been like a year.
Yeah.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. It's and now in all seriousness, it's been about a month, I think, since we last did an episode. It's been like 4 weeks, and we'll get into all the reasons why and everything during the episode itself, which by the time all of our listeners are hearing this, they'll already know, but that's okay. That's what we do. We like to do this type of stuff first, and it's good to see you. And I'll tell you what, I'm seeing you online right now, but I saw you in person yesterday, and that was fantastic. It was great to see you yesterday, man. It was nice for you to drop by, and yeah, a positive.
It was mildly tolerable for me.
I know. That's because Ari was there, and she loved you.
I know. See, it's awesome because it's Arya.
And then
it's mildly tolerable to see you.
I'm sorry. I didn't disappoint, I guess, because that's what you expected, and that's.
No, you always disappoint. I mean, you just take it to new levels.
Wow, what a dick!
2 kinds of people in this organization, Dan: quick and wounded, and we know which you are.
That was my impersonation of Quick, I guess. Anyway,
that was just as horrific as all your other impersonations.
Hey, cut that out! I'm trying hard.
Impersonations are not.
I don't know.
Dangerous.
Speaking of Arnold, there's a commercial that plays on the radio lately, and it's for some smoke shop locally around here. And they hired a guy to do an impersonation of Schwarzenegger. It is the most spot-on impersonation of Schwarzenegger I think I have ever heard. It is fantastic. Yeah. So everybody come to New Hampshire so you can listen to the Arnold Schwarzenegger guy.
I think the only thing that amazes me is that you still listen to terrestrial radio.
No, it's on regular. It's like Sirius. It's like a commercial's on Sirius, or maybe it was on a sportscast or something. Maybe during a Patriots game or something. But yeah,
weird.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fun. There you go. Anyway, so how you been? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I saw your tree yesterday. It looks beautifully outside of your house. Looks fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
With the lights on it.
Yeah.
I, of course, live in a condo, so there's no lights, and I haven't put up my tree now in a few years. So, it's the way it is. Although I think that next year and when we are living in a new house in a new state, I think we'll probably put a tree up.
Oh, good. We were seriously debating whether or not we were going to do a tree this year because of everything that has been going on over the last couple of weeks. But we finally decided to do it. We didn't know when we were going to be able to do it, and I was able to surprise Sue by doing it while she was at the gym the other night because I can't be at the gym for a while.
That's pretty cool.
I'm really happy with how it looks. Thank you for the compliment, and we love the company that we have a local company that does our lights. It's the second year they've done it, and it's fantastic. I've wanted to have professionally done Christmas lights forever, and last year we finally did it, and I'm glad we do it.
It was my hope that someday you might be hanging off the edge of your roof like Clark Griswold. I'm only sad that will never happen.
It did used to. You never saw the house that I grew up in on Browning in Nashua. It was a split level, but it was 3 levels, and the peak top part of the house was really up there. I don't know how many feet up it is, but as a kid, because kids are stupid and we don't have fear, my dad used to plow the driveways, and he would make these huge snowbanks in the driveway, and he had this is to tell you how old I am, had a giant CB antenna that up one side of the house, and I would climb up that to get to the top peak, and my friends and I would jump off the peak into the snowbanks. And one time I slipped and slid off the roof and fell. But it was into snow, so I didn't get hurt.
Did your parents ever know?
Nah. Well, when I got older, we would tell them about it, but at the time, no.
But not in the moment.
Which is weird, because it's like, what are all those footprints doing up on the roof? I don't know, it's the reindeer.
It's the reindeer. I think, I could be wrong here. I think they knew.
They probably did, but they just let me have my fun, probably hoping I would fall and break a leg so I'd learn my lesson.
I was hoping you'd fall and break your neck.
But I didn't. Sorry to disappoint.
And people say I should be nice to the holidays. People don't understand this is me being nice.
Oh, you are. You're being extremely nice, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. That's how this is like, you've never been this nice to me before.
I know. Can you believe that as we sit here now, as we record this, it's the evening of December 20th,
yes,
2022. A year ago at this time, we were in the midst of a massive ransomware attack at our at our employer.
Yeah.
And it was taking up our every day, our every night, our every weekend.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe that it's only been a year since that, because it feels like it's been 3 or 4.
Oh yeah. I think when did it hit? The 8th or the 12th? I forget what.
12th.
The 12th. And it was 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for months.
Yeah.
It was awful. I not too long ago we were talking about that on my team at work, but I had kind of put it out of my mind. But yeah, it was a year ago, and it was awful. It was awful. Yeah. It
was probably the worst experience in my professional career.
Yeah.
And we'll cover a little bit of this ground as we talk in today's topic.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's interesting to do a show today that doesn't necessarily have a focused Star Trek topic. You and I have never done that.
I know, which is kind of interesting, but a little scary at the same time.
Well, you and I have always had this relationship with our listeners that, I mean, we let them peek into our friendship and into our lives. Yeah. And I think that this episode is kind of an extension of that.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we're people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these relationships that we've made, like Jay and Kaylia, like Lou and John and everybody at Fansets, like our friends from our Star Trek family, the vast quantity of people that we see at cons every year, who we get to reunite with, and just it's so great to see them. It's all a byproduct of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's part of who we are, and because the show is who we are.
Right. And when we were talking about, the topic for this week, we're like, well, we haven't been able to do anything for several weeks now, and there's been a lot of reasons why. Let's just have a conversation. It's the holidays. We'll have a little holiday fireside chit chat, tell people what's going on in our lives, talk a little bit maybe about Star Trek over the course of the last year and what we liked, what we didn't like, and just have a fun little laid back discussion. So no prep work, no having to watch an episode and take notes or anything like that. Just talk, just fun. Your face is fun.
I think the amazing thing is that, I'm sure there's some people out there who assume that we just don't prep at all to talk about Star Trek.
The way I sound, yeah.
And I mean, the inside baseball thing is that we kind of have to prep pretty much every week, regardless of whether we know the episode backward and forward or not, because producing a podcast takes work.
Yeah. You got to outline it. You got to time it out. You got to make sure that there's no, mispronunciations along Oh, no, never mind. That doesn't
No,
happen.
no, we don't do that. Yeah.
So this will be a nice discussion. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Me too. As we sort of, close out the last outtake of the year, do you have any final outtake-ish like thoughts for the year?
Never go outside in frostbitten weather with no pants on because it can settle in really quick.
Wow. That's really, you just planted a flag and went for it. I wasn't expecting that.
Anyway, I don't know why that popped into my head, but it did. Maybe because there's a bomb cyclone coming this week, and they're saying that frostbite can come in 5 minutes in some parts of the northern Midwest. Maybe that's why.
My wife and I have this list on a shared Google Drive that we have of words we don't want to hear in our normal vocabulary when we move south next year. And one of the entries on that list, which is probably a good 40 or 50 words long, is the phrase bomb cyclone. We heard it for the first time, I think it was about 10 years ago.
Yep.
And we never wanted to hear it again when we decided that someday when we're ready to move, it's just, no, done.
Okay. I'm going to sneeze.
So, congratulations.
Nope. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Well, no, you don't want me to sneeze. Believe me.
Okay, so like the skipper on Gilligan's Island.
Is Davidson one of those words on your list too? I'm thinking maybe.
So live from Podfleet Command. No, just kidding.
I don't ever want to hear that guy again, Bill. He's a jerk. That was my impersonation of your wife, but it probably wasn't a very good one.
Wow, I can't wait to play this back for her.
But I love Kelly. She's awesome.
But you did an imitation of her that was not very flattering.
I've never had the opportunity to really focus in on hitting that mellifluous tone that she has.
Oh, you are such a BS artist.
You know what? Works.
No, it doesn't.
Not with her, it doesn't.
No, with me, it doesn't.
I don't care about you. You're a jerk too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you have this amazing ability to try to flip things around.
Yeah.
And you think that you're in the clear and you're never in the clear.
Oh, no, I know I'm never in the clear. It's just fun to pretend that I am. I know that jig is up. I might as well just, put the cuffs. I'll drop the bag of money and put the cuffs on. There you go.
You may as well.
But I have fun doing it. As my brother-in-law likes to say, he whenever I do stuff like that, he goes like this. Now, you people can't see this, obviously, but he goes like this. He just pretends that he puts his hand out in an outward motion from his mouth, saying that I am spewing the bull. That's what he calls it. So whenever I start up,
bleep this.
No, it's the outtake. That's fine. Leave it in. They can hear it.
Still have to.
Gee. Okay. Write down that time.
Write that. Yeah, I'm trying to get it.
I just wanted to give you more work to do.
You'd shut your effing mouth.
It's funny. I'm I can say it. It's the outtake. But I'm like, oh, nope, that's Patreon. We do that.
No, that's Patreon. So to everybody listening, if you've made it this far in the podcast and haven't turned it off because you're sick of Dan's voice already, please, all the best for your holiday season and in 2023. We wish you nothing but the best, and we'll be back for year 8 in January.
Crazy.
Year 8.
Year 8. Oh my God.
Year 8.
Infinity symbol standing up straight,
Just shut the up. And now I got to write that.
I'm glad that's too.